The carnival ride's bright lights gleamed in the summer night like a sea of swirling, twirling, multicolored gemstones. Laughter filled the evening sky above the festive lot, as adults and children alike took part in all of the fair's amusing attractions. The smell of buttery popcorn danced in the air, pirouetting with the sweet aromatic fragrances rising up from the carts of cotton candy vendors. But amongst all the revelry and merriment, no one seemed to notice a young girl holding a pink balloon and watching and wandering through the crowd all by herself. It was Ellie's first time at the fair. The little girl was only 7 years old and had tagged along with her older brother and his group of friends. From the moment she arrived, she had found herself mesmerized by a myriad of enchanting sights and sounds. The place was unlike anything she had ever seen before, and she wanted to experience all of it. Ellie's teenage chaperones, on the other hand, were only interested in flirting with every pretty girl they happened to come across. So she snuck away when they weren't paying attention, hoping to take in as much of the carnival as possible. Finally free from her boring brother, Ellie explored the lot, her pink balloon trailing behind her, while she bounced from one spectacle to another. She rode on the carousel, watched a clown perform magic tricks. She even fed a sugar cube to a pony at the petting zoo. To Ellie, the fair was the most magical place on the planet. After an hour or so, the little girl parked herself on a bench to rest her legs. She watched with a smile on her face as a group of thrill-seekers staggered off a flashy spinning ride called the Cyclone. It wasn't until the last of them had stumbled away that a small tent caught her eye. The nondescript little tent was easy to miss, sandwiched between two massive whirling rides decorated in dazzling lights. Curiosity beckoned Ellie off the bench, taking her by the hand and leading her over to it. She stopped in front of the entrance and looked at the wooden sign hanging above her head. The words sent a shudder throughout the child's body. Freak show. Ellie had heard of carnival freaks before, but never thought she'd get the opportunity to actually see one in person. Intrigue and fear waged a war inside of the little girl's head as she contemplated whether or not to go inside. When the dust had settled, it was intrigue that won out. Ellie pushed the flap of the entrance to the side and ducked into the tent, followed closely behind by her pink balloon. The inside of the tent was darker than she expected. Off to the left, a tiny candle flickered on the table, providing the only source of light. It took a moment for Ellie's eyes to adjust, but once they did, she could feel the air escape her lungs as a sense of dread gushed through her veins. The little girl was staring at the most hideous boy she had ever seen before in her life. He appeared to be suffering from some sort of terrible deformity that rendered his body a grotesque, tangled, bedridden mass of flesh and bones. His disfigured face, warped and misshapen, looked like a Picasso painting as the candlelight flickered off of his malformed features. He opened his mouth to speak, but only a few raspy breaths escaped from his crooked lips. "That means he likes you." Ellie spun around to see an old woman covered head to toe in tattoos. The hundreds of piercings in her face jingled like a pocket full of change as she continued to talk. "Oh, don't be alarmed. His name is the Human Pile, and he's a member of our little family. I know we're not as pretty as you are, but we're just people, and there's certainly nothing to be afraid of. I'm Tattoo Lady. It's nice to meet you." "Family?" asked Ellie. "Of course. There are more of us freaks than just the Human Pile and myself. Come on out, everybody. The little girl wants to see you." Ellie swallowed the scream in her throat as more horribly disfigured people slunk out of the shadows and into the light. The old tattooed woman pointed to a man with gray, scaly skin. When he smiled at Ellie, she noticed that his teeth were as sharp as a carnivorous predator's. "That's the African Snake Man," whispered Tattoo Lady. "He joined our family 2 years ago, traveled all the way from Liberia to be with us. Do you know where that is?" Ellie shook her head. The old tatted-up woman let out a chuckle, the piercings in her face clanking loudly as it mixed with her laughter, making it almost sound mechanical. "That's okay. Over there is the tumor woman. The tattooed freak pulled a pocket knife from her wristband and pointed the blade towards a woman in a sundress. Monstrous cysts were growing from her unsightly face. She waved a swollen hand covered in lumps and growths at Ellie, causing the little girl to wince. "I think I want to go home now," mumbled Ellie. "Nonsense!" Tattoo Lady jabbed her pocket knife above the little girl's head. A loud pop boomed through the tent. The ribbon attached to Ellie's balloon went limp in her hand. Her balloon was now nothing more but a mangled piece of pink latex, laying in the dirt at her feet. "Come now," said Tattoo Lady. "There are more members of our family you must meet. Over there is the lobster boy." A sneering teenage boy around the same age as her brother waved a pair of claw-like hands in the air. The little girl could feel her heart beginning to race. "And there," the old tattoo woman put her arm around Ellie and pointed her knife at the man whose body was completely covered in fur. "They call him the mongrel." A crooked smile crept its way across the old woman's pierced lips as she spoke again. "Now, there's one more member of our family. Her name is the little no-face girl." Ellie shifted her eyes around the tent, but couldn't figure out whom Tattoo Lady was referring to. But there's no one else here," stuttered Ellie. "Where is she?" The tattooed woman placed the edge of her blade at the top of Ellie's hairline. A trickle of blood ran down her brow. "Don't worry, child," she snickered. "The little no-face girl will be here real soon."